Yo, what is good, man? We are back with another video. Today we have something a little different. We have a tier list that is composed of all 45 active shooters in the Black Ops 1 community, which is very controversial, but at the same time, very accurate. I don't think anyone was snubbed. This list is based off of production, winning, consistency, and ability to carry a team. This list was created by all the admins and mods, which is about 8 to 10 people, which is a pretty good sample size for it not to be biased. And most of these players have been playing since we came back in 2025, so we sort of have an idea of where everyone is at, and this is the most accurate list there is so far. If you're on the list hoping to hear a breakdown of your game and then just clicking off, I am going to be starting from the D tier and then working my way up from there. And the pinned comment on this video will have timestamps for the tiers, so you can just skip to it. With that being said, let's just get right into it. Starting off in the D tier, these lower tiers aren't in order from the worst to best. They are just around the same level, which is the point of the tiers. So I am just going to start from top to bottom. So starting off with Prodigy. Prodigy is someone who used to play Xbox comp back in the day. I don't recognize him, so it was probably before my time, but the people who do remember him say that he was pretty decent. And since he came back just this month, it's hard to have a shot after multiple years of not playing. I have seen him play in 4 or 5 queues at this point, and I don't think there was a game where he wasn't 30+ negative. But like I said, he just came back, so these tiers are subject to change based on if people get better, and that goes for everyone. Moving on to Villa, and I'm actually going to put Aqua and Villa in the same category here, since they most likely won't be playing in this next tournament. But both of these guys can surprise you. I mean, there are games where I have seen both of them drop 10 to 15 positive on good teams. But this list, once again, is based off of consistency and production. So I'm grouping these two guys together for the simple fact that they are inactive, and they most likely won't be drafted. Next up on the list in the D tier category is Divine. Now let me give you all a little backstory about Divine. He is the one that actually brought me to the sniping community in about 2014 to 15, when I was about 11 years old. His team, called L9 at the time, picked me up after a 1 versus 1 tryout, and the rest is history. He even showed me how to properly turtle. But now we're in 2026, and it feels like UNC is just trying to hang on to whatever he has left. I think we can all agree on Divine's placement in this tier list as of right now. Next on the list is Blast. Now this placement right here is a good one because half the admins argued him for D tier, while the other half said C, and even some said B. But as you guys know, along with everyone else's placement on the tier list, the majority rules. I will say though, if I was a captain of a queue and everyone in D tier was a choice, I'd go with Blast or Scheme. Blast actually is coachable and listens to the top shooter on the team, and he is an objective player. One thing I will say he can improve on is the movement and the positioning. If he fixed those two things, I can see him being a B tier level player. Speaking of Scheme, he is the next person on the list. Now this is where it gets interesting because Scheme used to be one of the best players back in the day, and he does have receipts. But I think him taking a break from about 2016 to 2025 really hurt his skill ceiling. Let me tell you what I mean by that. For those who don't know, on Xbox we used to play with spawn delay up until about 2017, when the avoid people were active. This, along with the influx of turtling and drop-shotting, forced people to play at a way faster pace than those from back then. There are players like Ninja and Goku who did play back then and adapted to that fast pace. But I understand how hard it is to adjust. It reminds me of a great NBA player in the 60s being teleported to 2026. Realistically, how good would he do? With that being said though, the next player on this list is Berserk. Now unfortunately for Berserk, he is one of the few players that I have never seen positive. I think that there's a few small tweaks he can do. The first thing is that he plays on a 2 sensitivity. If he goes into combat training with a 6 sensitivity, which actually does help you improve, believe it or not, then I can actually see him improving so much. I literally have a clip of him where a guy runs beside him, and he gets his teammate killed because he can't turn his head fast enough. One more thing that he can work on is being coachable. Now, he can attest to this. In October, when he first came back, I offered to help him get better by showing him spots on the map and whatnot. But after that, he never hit me up to actually try to improve. I can tell he actually does want to win most of the time, but the other half of the time he's just trolling and throwing the queues. I believe he got queue banned for 24 hours for something, but that's another story. Next on the list is Apollo. Now, Apollo is a special character, man. He will be the first one talking crazy to the other team, even though he is 30 to 40 neg. But if his team still somehow wins, that's all that matters to him. I can't really put my finger on what he can improve on mechanically. However, from mine and another S-tier player's experience, I can definitely say that he is one of the most uncoachable players in comp right now. One time, he was on my team 20 negative, and I told him to hop in the cap while he was kill whoring, and he straight up said that he can do what he wants. I think stuff like that should be considered throwing. Like, if you know you don't have the best shot, you know you have no business playing for kills. If he dropped the ego and was more team-oriented, I would move him up a tier, honestly. The last person on this list for the D tier is the one we have all been waiting for, which is Amerify. Now, the thing with Amerify is that his production throughout the game will be based on his start to the game, if that makes sense. For example, if he starts off 0 for 8, then he will most likely end the game like 10 and 40. But if he starts off 12 and 8, then I can see him finishing around neutral, which is good for him. He also cares about winning and plays objectives, so I respect that as a player. The thing I would try to work on, if I were him, is to stop getting frustrated if you're playing bad and consistent. I do understand it's easier said than done. That is all for the D tiers. Let's move on to the C. Now for C tiers, Drex is the first person that is on the list. Now Drex is the longtime homie. I play rivals with him and he's an overall good dude. This is another OG that I feel like had a little trouble adapting to the fast-paced playstyle. I know this might sound like bad advice at first, but hear me out. I think he should implement turtling into his game. Let's face it, turtling makes it harder for the enemy to hit you. When I watch Drex, it seems like he's still in 2012, just walking around and sitting in corners. He's ranked above Scheme and all the D tier guys because the admins came to an agreement he is a step above those players. The next player on the list is Tails. Now, I was almost going to put Tails and Drex in the same category, but Tails is a little inactive nowadays. While I think Tails has a more consistent playstyle, Drex has a little bit more consistency. The next one on the list is Aldo. Now, Aldo is exactly where he should be in my opinion, maybe even closer to B. I have seen him do really bad, but he does have high highs. He is probably one of the best rage baiters and trash talkers in the game. I mean, he gets under everyone's skin that he has beef with in the chats. One thing about his game he can improve on is his shot. He played other comp games before, so he had some IQ on how to hold the caps and angles, so I can't really think of anything he can improve on besides getting a more accurate shot. Next up is my clan leader, Vicky. Vicky in his prime was an actual A-tier player. I mean, he is a really smart player, and I was hoping people would have him higher than C. But recently he has been playing on a broken controller, and he has been consistently neutral or negative the past few weeks, so this is a correct ranking. Next on the list is Natural. Natural is another player that has drastically improved the last few months, and I honestly think he is better at comp right now than he was back then, as far as I remember. One thing he can improve on is the same thing as also, just a more accurate shot. There's been many times where I would watch him and he would be missing easy shots that I have seen him hit before. So maybe just take that one extra millisecond to get a better lineup before shooting, and he would be a way better player. The next player on the list is Barnes. For those who don't know, Barnes was a player that I taught how to get better. Not saying he is my junior, but he will tell you himself that I have a big part in his improvement. The other half of that is combat training. Yes, you heard that right. Barnes spent hours in combat training on different maps from what I have seen, and he honestly has a good argument for being B tier. His improvement, I would say, would be consistency. I have seen Barnes top frag good teams in the queue, and I also have seen him be at the bottom of a team that he's clearly the best player on. I will say though, when his shot is on and he's hitting, he's damn near keeping up with some of the A tiers. Next on the C tier list is Dekoko. Dekoko is the one player in this whole video that plays objective before kills, almost like the modern day Jetter. I have won some impossible queues with him playing object. Though he's around neutral or negative, he will consistently have the most caps. His improvement would be setting up after the cap. From my personal experience, there has been too many times where I have seen Dekoko get the cap and then have a trash setup after staying on the cap, or not knowing which way to look. If he fixes this, it will prevent a lot of deaths from him. Next player on the list is Feeds, and he's kind of the exact opposite as Dekoko. In the last few weeks, I have seen him trying to be more objective-orientated, I can't lie, which is my one critique. Sometimes he is killing us on the opposite side of the map, while the cap is on the other side, giving us the spawn. I would say if he cleans this up, then he can move up a tier. Next on the list is Sacrifice. In case you didn't know Sacrifice before this year, there was a point in time where all the BO2 and MW2 players came over to Black Ops 1 in about 2018 to 19. Sacrifice was one of them, and he honestly was one of the best ones from MW2 at the time. He also got posted on YouTube by a 1v1 ear, but that's a different story, sorry Unk. I think he just doesn't play that often to get better, so no real critiques here. Last one on this tier is Brute. Now there was a real conversation about Brute being in D tier, but I really don't think he's that bad. However, him being the only one from the UK, def takes a toll on his games. I think C is a good spot for him for now. We are officially moving on to the B tier, and this tier is reserved for players who typically are second or third pick in the queues. These guys are all guys that are mostly positive, then they are negative. So first on this list is my old teammate and defending champion, Fora. Me and Fora always used to go head-to-head in the queues, and he is consistently positive, and in my opinion, should have been A tier. My one critique isn't really a critique, but back then when we used to play together, I would always see him trying to experiment with different scopes mid-game, and that would sort of throw him off. Next on the list is Club God, who suffers from a very niche problem, and that is route running. Yes, you heard that right. When the cap is on bathroom by the car, and he spawns downhill or tunnel, he will run through tunnel and to American, which is on the wrong side of the map, essentially screwing his teammates if they die. Club God, if you are watching this video, if you spawn tunnel, you need to run to the right, straight through jungle. So yeah, Club God does have a good shot and plays good objectives, but he just needs to play slightly smarter and he will be great. Next on the list is Raze, and Raze is a very specific case. 2 months ago, you would have to be stupid to have him lower than A. Everyone would agree he used to be a top 4 to 7 player. Recently though, he has been inactive, only hopping on for clan matches, and he is now using an Xbox controller instead of a PlayStation 1 for some reason, but it's clearly throwing his shot off. Next on the list is Marvelous, and Marvelous doesn't really have too many weaknesses to his game. The only thing I can think of is his decision-making in CTF. Like he would be pulling the flag, which I like, but he would pull it when there are 4 people still alive. That's a pretty valid critique in my opinion. Just be a little more patient in CTF. Next on the list is Juxity. So when we all first came back, Juxity was consistently regarded as a top 3 player in the game. I think he just got busy with work or something, because he hasn't been as active recently, and you can tell in his production in both clan matches and queues. So his improvement would be just consistently playing. Next up is Wubby, and Wubby is in the same boat as Juxity. Both inactive admins, and I honestly think Wubby is good in B tier with A tier potential. But for some reason, there were a lot of people like Barnes, Nuketown, and Natural that feel disrespected about Wubby being ranked higher because of the 30 negative in the clan match versus Prime. I think he just had an off day that day, like we all do, and he has real A tier potential in the next few days. Next on the list is Jupiter, and Jupiter is a great player to have on your team. I love having Jupiter on my team in the random scrims, because he's coachable and he plays objective while hitting shots. You won't see him consistently 20 positive, but you will certainly see him at least neutral. His critique would be he gets into his own head a lot, and I can tell when he gets frustrated and starts playing bad. Last one on this tier is Cyclops. This is another guy certain individuals thought should be ranked lower, but I have been playing with Cyclops since day one, and he is definitely one of the more consistent players. He knows how to play the caps and knows setups. I would say his critique would be ego challenging. I can recall a time in a queue where I said to not walk around the barrel by back trailer while someone was on the Jeep head glitch, and he still popped out trying to kill him. I'm not sure if he still plays this way, but these are pointless deaths and easily preventable. That is it for the B tiers, and now we are moving on to the A's. These guys are always captains in the scrims unless there are S-tier players in the queue. In the queues, you can expect every one of these guys to go at least 10 to 20 positive on top of their team's win or lose. With that being said, the first person on the list is Heinz. Heinz, also known as Dripsy, is a player who, if you play him on Kali Host, you can expect him to be 20 or 25 positive. He plays the right way and usually wins in the queues, hence the record. That also brings me to his weakness, which is talking shit to his own teammates. I'm sure we are all guilty of this to some degree, but there are times where Scheme or Berserk is playing bad in a queue on Dripsy's team, and Dripsy will throw off the team morale by calling them dog shit. I'm all for toxicity, but the goal of these scrims is trying to win, and that does nothing for the teams, just in my opinion. Next player is Yieldable. Now this is an interesting one for me because I really think Yield was snubbed the best here. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm glazing, but I think he's probably the smartest player in all of comp. I mean, I have seen him literally coach teams in Spectator to wins by helping lower level players hold angles that they wouldn't have without Yieldable's coaching. One critique I would say for Yieldable is that he could probably switch back to first zoom, and I know he hates to hear me say this, but I really do think he was a way better player on variable. Next on the list is Cams, and Cams is arguably the best player in King right now. I don't know why, but I play really good with him on my team, and he's central, I'm pretty sure, so he can play on any connection. Not any critiques in his playstyle, really. I guess the only thing I could say is when in the queues, sometimes his mic is muted or he's not calling out. I'm never going to say anything about that though, because a player on his level makes up for it by his production on the court, if that makes sense. Next player on the list is Cecino. I'm not sure whether or not he is ever going to play Bo 1 again, because he just wanted to beat Gambi's team and then get off, so nothing to critique here. Just another good player that picked up on the turtling quickly. Next player on this list is Gambit. If you're watching this video on my channel, there's a good chance you have heard this name. From what I have heard, he was one of the best PlayStation players ever, so it was cool to see him coming over to Xbox to compete. He left the server after seeing the list, so I'm not sure if a critique is needed at this point, but if he does return, I would say he should play a little more OBJ, because there are a lot of times where I have seen him on the wrong side of the map on purpose, hunting for kills. That officially wraps up the A tiers, and now we are going to move into the final 4 shooters, which is the S tier, also known as the top 4 players in the game. Once again, these are tiers, so in hindsight, they are all around the same level, but I can't help myself but to think they are in 2 groups as far as playstyle. For Gambi, he is another PS3 player, and he probably does have the fastest shot from PS3. It is pretty rare you will see him negative, and if he is, he's only 2 to 5 negative. One thing I can say about him is that he and Gambit have similar playstyles as far as playing for kills, but Gambi does hop in the cap a little more than Gambit. Gambi doesn't have any weaknesses. Now for Exxon, I would say Exxon is the Xbox version of Gambi. Both of them play reckless, but it works out, because their shots are so accurate, and you can usually find Exxon dropping between 60 to 70 kills every single game. His weakness, from playing with him for the last 6 years, has always been his in-game IQ. Especially during CTF, it's hard to coach him on what to do, and sometimes even in tournament matches, he's trying to do 3 6-0s and spin around when we're down. It might just be his confidence because, like I said, he probably has the most accurate shot on Xbox, but if he plays smarter, I think he could be the unanimous best player in the game. Next up is Styles, and Styles is a generational talent. He played Xbox before on a different tag, and he's always had a fast shot, but it wasn't until last year where I would say he became one of the best players in the game on Xbox at least. Styles is a second zoom freak, but he is one of those players that plays the game the right way. And if I'm starting a draft of all the players, I would probably take him first, because I don't think I have ever lost a game with him on my team, let alone a series. We, as a community, might be making rankings for game modes like Headquarters and CTF rankings, but if we don't, I am just going to go ahead and say that Styles is the best CTF player in the game right now. I mean, if you play him on Havana, you would know what I'm talking about. He is constantly 20 to 30 positive, while having the most returns because it is so hard to kill him in that bar. He doesn't have too many weaknesses, if at all really, But I would say from what I have seen, he should probably play more OBJ when he first hops on, because in games where his shot is off, I don't see him changing his playstyle to help the team more when his shot is off. Other than that, he is probably the closest thing to a perfect player when his shot is on no glaze. He is the second smartest in comp after Yieldable. The very last person on the list is going to be myself, Legend. I'm not going to be saying too much about myself about my game because I let the Q record speak for itself every month. But I can say that I have a top 5 most accurate and fastest shot, with by far the best movement in the game as far as the way that I turtle. You combine those two things while being an objective player, and you are almost guaranteed to win. I do have flaws like most guys on this list, like throwing off the team morale. For example, if I'm on a team with Apollo or Amerify, I pretty much mute my microphone so that I don't say anything negative, and that hurts the team when they are needing callouts, which is something I have been working on. Styles and Legend are in the same category together, because I feel like these two players have proven they are able to carry a bad team against a clearly better team and win, and I honestly haven't seen the same thing with the other two guys. Again, this is just from I have seen. That is going to be the end of the video though. Let me know if you guys like the breakdown videos, and myself, Styles and Juxty are all going to be posting clips, clan match edits, and tournament announcements to this channel, so subscribe and stay tuned. Peace out.